10 minutes late. Sorry about that, folks. It's been a weird couple of days. I'm in the studio by myself right now and continue to have weird fatigue stuff. So today is probably going to be a bit of a shorter stream for anybody who's joining and hoping to check out the stream for a while. The batter I'm using is left over from a commission session I did yesterday, and I'm not sure how long it's going to go. I didn't want to waste a whole bunch of new batter, and so I'm just using what I had in the fridge. I'm also not sure how well it's going to cook, but we'll see. That's the Pancake's motto, is mistakes are delicious. If everything turned out perfect all the time, there'd be no point to the motto. Bang Dream on YouTube and Silly Things of Life on YouTube both dropped into the chat to say hello. It's good to see y'all. Thanks for hanging out. Now, to be completely honest with everybody, because I know I certainly saw Silly Things of Life. We did some cool stuff 2 days ago, while you were in chat. I'm definitely not really feeling very good today. I don't know if folks remember, I was talking about how I'm trying not to drink as much coffee, and it's been several days now, and the withdrawal symptoms continue. They're a little worse today than they were the other day, so my body's sore and my brain hurts and all kinds of stuff, so bear with me. I'm going to do what I can to make this as engaging as it can be, given that I am not feeling 100%. So the prompt I started today with was just going to be geometric. Wednesday, I had some folks, I had gone on a ramble about sacred geometry, and there was a piece that I had in mind that I didn't get around to that I thought I would just go ahead and start that today. Javon Clark on YouTube, I see you say hi and you sent me some wave emojis. Thanks for dropping those comments. Good to see you. I hope you'll hang out and enjoy some of the stream today. Isabella Zabo on Facebook, good to see you again. Happy Friday. Yeah, without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and get into my first design here. As I get close to finishing this one, for anybody that hasn't seen the Joy of Pancakes streams we do, as I get close to finishing my first design, I'm going to start soliciting prompts from y'all in chat. So let me know if you have ideas for pancake art around then. You don't give me those requests too soon, because they'll get bumped off the chat and then I won't remember them. But as I finish this pancake, and I'll let you know, give me some ideas for what the next one should be. Mandy Olmstead on Facebook says, sorry you're not feeling well, hope you feel better. I appreciate you saying that. I think I will. This is a temporary thing, so probably Monday's stream I'll be doing a lot better. Oh my gosh, there are so many flies in this studio. Hank's got to stop leaving the door open, I swear. It drive me insane. Purple Anubis on Twitch, it is indeed pancake time. Silly Things of Life, ginger with hot water is good for coffee withdrawal. Taking personal experience. I appreciate that tip. Archie, first time live audience. It's 2 a.m. here. Where are you, Archie? Over on YouTube. Where are you watching from? Thanks for checking things out. Jefferson Bland, first time jumping on. Love your work. Thanks for saying so, Jefferson. I hope that I can make something worthwhile here. Sherry McGee on Facebook says hi. Hi, Sherry. Thanks for dropping a comment. Mind is because Dan has the memory of a goldfish. Indeed, I do. Especially when I'm not at 100%. So I was going to go geometric, because we had a fun conversation going the other day about, somebody asked me about the pendant that I wear around my neck here. And I was explaining that this is it's a design from a metaphysical school of thought called sacred geometry. It's called Metatron's cube, and I thought it would be interesting to try and explain what this means through pancake art, because why not, right? Alex J on YouTube says, first time on the stream, seems really interesting. How do these go? I love it. Yeah, well, I'm just going to start doing some designs and kind of talking about what I'm working on. And after I finish a design, I generally ask for suggestions from the chat. So I have one in mind for my first one, though, so I'm just going to go ahead on that. So Metatron's cube is the concept is, how do I explain it? Basically, it's this symbolic idea that at the beginning of time and reality and creation, you imagine some divine entity, God, whatever you want to call it, the universe thinking of itself, exists in a void of nothingness, and it decides it's bored, and it says, let's go ahead and make some stuff. So if that entity exists at a point in the middle of a void, It's that. And so what does it do? What does it do when it wants to make stuff? Well, first thing it does is it projects its consciousness outwards. And because it is perfect, that projection is going to be a perfect circle around it, right? This is going to be a weird episode, y'all. It's not normally like this. Normally I just draw some stuff, but this is to cash in on something I promised. Was it you, Purple Anubis, over on Twitch that wanted me to follow through on this? Mindmess says, what percentage would you say you are at? So I know for future reference. And is sacred geometry the theme for the first pancake? Yeah, I'm going to go through this symbol here and try and explain the significance of it. And I would say I'm probably at 60%. Archie on YouTube says, from Indonesia. It doesn't really help that it's 12 hours apart from the States. Yeah, what are you doing up at 2 a.m.? It's nice to have you. By all means, it's nice to have you. And Purple Anubis, it was you, okay. So, right, so, consciousness, in its divine form, existing in nothingness, projects its awareness outward. You can imagine that's just a sphere of somethingness, right? So, after that, naturally, you would want to move and do it again. So consciousness would move to the edge, and you can pick any direction. It just moves directly to one edge, so we'll just go up here, and does it again. I'm actually going to need to adjust that, because that needs to be more to the center. This is not going to be a perfect representation of what I'm trying to explain, because I am not perfect, and I don't have a protractor. But basically, if you go to the edge of one of these circles and do the same thing, what you're going to find is that you overlap the circle in something that looks like this. This shape is called the Vesica Pisces. In various traditions, it represents masculine and feminine coming together, the feminine principle, the birth of all things, all kinds of stuff. Now, moving the exact same distance mathematically from that first point to that second point, you can then move from the second point to another point, and you'll find that where these lines intersect is the perfect midpoint, or it's the exact same distance from all these different points. I'm not sure if I'm using the right words to explain that the best way, but basically you just kind of go around and do all these circles. I'm probably going to have to wipe this away because I'm doing this very imperfectly. But every time you have a vertex, you draw a perfect circle around that vertex. And at the end of the whole process, you end up with, oh God, that's so bad. Mistakes are delicious. You end up with a symbol. It's called the seed of life. Yeah, I do need a pancake art protractor. I'm going to wipe this away because basically, if on this symbol here, there's 13 circles, and you get those circles by continuing this pattern outwards over and over and over again, and you get this really crazy-looking, layered, rounded grid. It's called, depending upon what size, like how many layers you're looking at, they call it different names. There's the fruit of life, the seed of life, the egg of life, all these different concepts that Google can do a better job of explaining than I can. What I really want to get to is that if you continue that pattern outward with a protractor for long enough, and I'm going to wipe this away because I did that so poorly. If you continue that pattern for long enough, you eventually end up able to very easily illustrate this thing called the fruit of life. And the fruit of life is a little bit easier for me to draw because I draw in my notebook all the time for various anthromancer things. So the fruit of life is 13 spheres picked out of this grid, arranged in a pattern sort of like this. There's one that's sort of a central axle, and then you have these 5. But then you also are going to have one here, touches there. Touch there. And we do that again here. There we go. Not my finest work, but just trying to explain something. So, once you have this design in place, once you're able to have these 13 circles, once you draw them all out, there's a really cool trick you can do. and this is the basis of Metatron's cube. If you take all 13 of these circles, and from the center point of every single one, draw a line to every single other circle, you end up with this shape here. Metatron's cube is interesting because of the 5 Platonic solids that exist, these are the only 5 shapes in geometry that have a sort of perfect symmetry to them. All 5 of them are generated when you do that with Metatron's cube. When you take these 13 circles, and if you, like if I take this, it's much easier to do well if you have a ruler, so I'm just going to kind of wing it. But if I draw, so right now, from this point, I can draw to here, I can draw it to here, draw it to here. This is going to be very messy when I'm done, just by the nature of pancake batter. Because then I got to go here. Yeah, I think these ones are supposed to go across like that. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to really draw out the design. I always end up missing lines when I do this, because there's so freaking many. There's so many connections to draw. But you don't even really have to think about it, right? You get this really beautiful consonance and complexity from this schematic that, if you have a protractor, is essentially effortless to draw. It doesn't take a lot of thought or effort. These get all connected to one another. Wow, it's kind of wild looking. I'm missing some. I'm always missing some. Maybe not. Yeah, here. I missed that. And I missed that. I think I got that though. Okay. Right on. So, and when I say the Platonic solids, I mean the one here. Here's what I'll do. I'll assign each one to one of these spokes just so I can keep this as a whole piece. The cube. It's pretty straightforward, and I'll show you how you can draw it in the, we'll use red for that, because red is tied to Earth. So you can actually, that one is kind of a big one. Well, they appear more than once in the designs. So there you got a cube. Or at least an image of a cube. All right, just kind of going over the lines I already drew. That is Earth. So I'll go ahead and color this in. Then you got water, is what's called an icosahedron, which is D20, for those of you who play Dungeons and Dragons. And I generally use orange for that. Right. Right, so that's kind of how that one would show up. And they show up in multiple, like you can draw a smaller icosahedron just between these 6 spheres in the circle. So that's orange, we'll color that in. Fire is a tetrahedron. Now mind you, these are all, there's no like physics basis for these shapes. Like these shapes do appear in nature. They appear all over the place. They appear in the way, the atomic forms of things, but the actual one-to-one element to shape ratio is kind of a little bit flimsy. You really gotta want to believe it. It's not a particularly scientific theory. It's somewhere between art and spirituality, I think. I think it's a beautiful idea, and that's why I like it so much. So fire is pretty simple. It's just that. It's just tetrahedron, which, you know, you can just go over this again. And it's generally yellow is the color I see most often associated with the fire chakra. So we'll go ahead and color that in. Air is an octahedron, or a D8. So it's kind of like this. 8-sided polyhedron. Okay. It's usually green. This is the heart chakra. Kind of wondering how this is going to look at the end of all this. Not sure if you guys can see that, but that shape is being redrawn there. The one that's a little bit trickier to draw out is certainly precisely is the D12, the dodecahedron, which is tied to the throat chakra and spirit, and ether is the element I see associated with it, like the classical element, ether. Einstein actually disproved the existence of the ether, or the need for ether to exist for our for relativity to be a functional set of equations. Excuse me. Silly Things of Life says, can you draw the Big Bang? It'll be very new and very appropriate after this. It's not a bad idea. What's the trick to this one? This one always throws me because it's not, it's more of a, it doesn't actually rely on the centers of the spheres. It's a subtractive kind of, like the pentagon isn't precise because pentagons and hexagons don't agree with each other. Gosh, how is it normally drawn? Give me a second. I have to actually look this up because I'm messing this up. Dodecahedron, Metatron's cube. Whatever NSA agent monitors my internet search history has got to be like, yeah, I'm used to this by now. There it is. Okay, right, so yeah, they end up adding lines like right here, it looks like, right in these little pockets, because they use these 3 lines in the center for the meeting faces of these. And then, oh yeah, I missed lines, didn't I? Yeah, I did. That's okay. Mistakes are delicious. And this is going to be trippy looking either way, so. But yeah, it ends up looking like this. I'm cheating. Yeah. Hiding in there like that. Now, there is a lot of cool stuff that goes along with this. Oh yeah, and the 6th element, at least in the system that I like, is just void, which is the spheres themselves. And I associate that with the color indigo. So we'll just grab some indigo and fill that in. I mean, you can see, you know, tons of indigo spheres, but I'll outline one of them just for fun. Now, I've got this weird abomination of a collection of lines. How do I want to... I'm probably just going to do black outlines, but here's what I'll do. Before I do that, I give these all a color outline so they're a little bit larger so I don't have to use quite as much black. Probably doing that in the wrong order. Anyway. Yeah, choose a lighter color and then the darker color. It doesn't matter. Nothing, you know, nothing's real. Certainly not this nonsense. Yeah, make it in space. It'll be cool. That's a good idea. Just throw some stars around there. I think you're right. So what I really like about sacred geometry, about this concept, this system idea, is that I mean, it's the very first shape I drew there, the seed of life image, the one that I mangled because I don't have a protractor, there's a lot of like weird mythological correlation between like the 7 days of creation, which is like a super classic creation myth trope, that the God created the universe in 7 days or whatever. And those, if you take each day as a sphere, the seed of life takes 7 spheres. So if every day God projects his consciousness or their consciousness out, and that's a day's worth of work. It's to just create some space. After 7 days, then the schematic that empowers you to draw this whole design, on which all of the fundamental mathematical forms of nature, arguably, are created, it matches. It's like this really pretty sort of, oh, that's a clever little correlation, and it's cool how you can create this seemingly elaborate, complex shape, this really multifaceted design with all these different colors. Well, I mean, I guess the colors aren't necessarily there, but having all of these mathematical forms that, incidentally, these are the only perfect polyhedrons, so to speak, with perfect symmetry all the way around them that are possible. Like that's all that our mathematics allows for, is those 5. And for a simple shape like this that you can build with just a protractor, don't need to do any weird measurements, you don't need to get out any angles, it's just circles and then straight lines from circle to circle. For that to be the baseline schematic to draw, just coincidentally to draw all of the Platonic solids perfectly, it's this weird, it's this kind of spooky thing, right? Where it's like, I think what appeals to me about it is that it seems to suggest that, you know, and I mean, I guess what I'm about to say, like, you can just look at the laws of physics to find order, but in a very aesthetic sense, there's an aesthetic order to this. There's an aesthetic sort of purpose baked into the laws of math that exist in our world. And to me, that's very comforting, I suppose, because you know, I've always considered myself a bit of a skeptic. I definitely had a period of just abject nihilism when I was in my early 20s and stuff, and I think there's just something really nice about the idea that as the universe isn't just pure chaos, like, on different levels of order, we experience different subjective interpretations of chaos, right? Like, but on very, very fine, minute levels, there seems to be a strange sort of reason to everything that we experience. And that's what I love about this shape. That's why I wear it around my neck, because, and it's not really easy for me to explain that when somebody's like, oh, what's that mean? Like, I have to sort of, to really get at what it means, I have to dig in, and, you know, it really, really helps to be able to illustrate it, to literally draw the picture. Because when you illustrate it, when you draw the picture, you can explain, you know, like, see, here's the thing. Like, it's just crazy to me that this simple set of instructions, like, I didn't need to use any graphing tools here. I just drew the fruit of life and then drew lines from each one of them, and I can draw every single Platonic solid with fairly perfect accuracy, because it's just simple. Because these shapes are simple shapes, because these shapes are simple and universal, and I guess it makes sense that this design is so old, that people have been drawing the seed of life and the flower of life and Metatron's cube, that it shows up in iconography and mythology and religious art and all that kind of stuff, because there is something really just deeply intuitively appealing about it, I think, to most people, when you spell it out like that, where it's like, oh wow, you know, that's, I guess what it doesn't really have to be anything more than that's neat, right? And that's, I guess that's my point, is that, like, isn't it neat that our universe does this, that this thing here is just a side effect of the laws of time and space we all have to abide by? Isn't it neat that we don't, like, I don't have to take anybody's word on faith. I don't have to, like, trust a teacher or an adult or a government to tell me that there is order in the universe, when I can just draw it. I can just, like, look, I drew something. And it's a timeless design. It's beautiful. Over the years, different cultures have come up with different associations. Like, I mentioned all the elements, right? I mentioned earth, water, fire, air, ether, and void. And symbolically, all those elements have come to represent parts of the human experience. Like, oh, somebody's watering the lawn out there. Like, water is tied to the unconscious. You know, you think about the ocean, you think about the deep, unknowable depths of something so massive, and yet it's so important, and yet it has these ebbs and flows, and there's storms, and there's all this energy that we symbolically associate with water. It comes to represent things like your subconscious, and your emotional impulse, and the flow of your desires and your fears. You know, things that you don't know, how you feel about that. Air, it's associated with communication, vibration, right? Like vibrating frequencies passing through the air. Breath, it's associated with platonic love. There's all kinds of different cool... I think it's hard to communicate in a straightforward way about why all this stuff feels significant to me, because I think so much of my, like, the realizations that studying this stuff and drawing this myself over and over, so much of immersing myself in it is, it's the word that comes to mind is emergence. Like, I can't write a paragraph of what I'm saying here and it sell you on the ideas I'm selling. It's, you have to sort of experience it for yourself, and it's very hard to put into words the kind of emotional, like, clarity, the peace that finding beauty in all this stuff gives me. So, there's some comments I didn't see there. Adam Topkoff on Facebook says, "Sup, Dan, what you making?" I'm making a very abstract design of Metatron's cube, which is the pendant that I wear on a pretty regular basis here. Good to see you in chat, by the way, Adam. Thanks for dropping back in. Christelle Rautenbach on Facebook says, "Hello there. Happy Friday, everyone." Happy Friday, Christelle. The weekend is finally here. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm going to sleep in super hard tomorrow because I need it. Ido Zeiger on YouTube says, "Man, your lives really makes my day." I appreciate you saying that. Thanks for the heart. That's awesome. Cocorito Rivendenera on Facebook says, "Montse Mendoza." Not sure what that is. If you're saying somebody's name, is that a suggestion? Because that doesn't ring a bell to me. Adam Michael on YouTube says, "I resonate with everything you're saying. This is why I got interested in quantum physics. Metatron's cube to me is impo wars ago, and I've been trying to understand more. I used to be a nihilist too, and it sucked until I went through a lot of stuff and transmogrified." Yeah, nihilism is seductive for the culture, the Western culture, because it's, you know, if all you do is assume nothing about the universe and look out and rationally analyze, there's a lot of stories people tell about how, you know, people tell a lot of stories about God or the gods or what our meaning is, or this, that, and the other, and it's very easy, I think, to see a double standard in an institution, for instance. Like, there's a lot of corruption in the church, for instance, and people will see that and use it to, like, it makes it very hard to just accept what people say at face value about meaning. I think like atheism and agnosticism have like secular ideas about the nature of reality have exploded in the last couple decades because of that. I think because there's a lot of people who are not doing a good job of communicating like spiritual ideas in a way that makes people think, oh, that makes sense, and so people reject it. And I remember that was my big thing, is that like I didn't want to be. I was nihilistic because there was no objective truth provided for me. Like there was no. I didn't seem like there was. I couldn't find any meaning in reality outside of what people were telling me it was, and that wasn't enough for me. And yeah, I remember being strangely obsessed with death and darkness and the void at that time in my life. You get to a point where you're just like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Katie Forbes says, Tia's back watching. Hey y'all, thanks for dropping in. I'm glad that you come back and join the stream. I'm cooking this pancake now, so if y'all have a request for the next one, I hate to let anybody down, but I may only have enough batter here to do 2 pancakes on this stream. So I'll try and make the next one just as interesting and cool as this one is. But I'm reusing batter from yesterday. I didn't want to waste any from my commission day, and so I've only got like this much plain batter left over, and that's going to be just barely enough to fill another full pancake. So, but yeah, if y'all have a request, a suggestion, something like that, that would be really cool. Archie on YouTube says, I think I feel the same about the golden ratio or other fractal structures. Well, I think I do. Yeah, that stuff is so cool. Just the laws of reality, just creating this sort of natural sense of beauty. And it's hard, it's hard to tell, like, do I love these shapes because they are just amazingly, profoundly beautiful, or do I love them because my brain evolved to find them beautiful? And it's like, it doesn't really matter. Either way, it's beautiful. It's me experiencing beauty in a subjective capacity, and there's not even, like, why should I even exist? And yet here I am getting to appreciate this stuff, and enjoy this stuff, and think about this stuff, and share it with my friends on the internet, and that's pretty cool, right? Like, that's a pretty cool thing. I would pick that over non-existence any day. All right, we're going to flip this Metatron's cube. We'll see if it cooked weird, because this batter was used yesterday. 3, 2, 1. I think that turned out pretty okay, all things considered. I'm going to flip to the overhead here. Sorry, y'all. Over here. Transition. There you go. Adam Michael on YouTube. This is my first time ever seeing your channel. I love this. Do you have the... I'm just seeing over here, you got Metatron's cube as your profile pic. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Kindred spirits, I see. Hey, Sky Kid! I'm glad to see you in chat, Skylar. We got your Feel Better cards. You're amazing. Sky Kid is watching over on YouTube. It's an old friend of mine. I met them at a Comic-Con in South Texas a while ago. And we've stayed in touch, been sort of pen pals. And Sky Kid sent me and Dana and Ben some Feel Better cards that they illustrated themselves. Dana brought them in on the last stream and showed them to me. She read it to me, and that was really, really cool of you. I very much appreciate it. So it's good to see you. I'm glad you joined, Adam. Purple Anubis, I'm glad you like it. Katie Forbes says, Tia says, wow, it's pretty. Well, thank you very much, Tia. I appreciate that. I'm glad you think so. This is one of my favorite designs. And, yeah. Let's see, how did I do? Yeah, Sky Kid, they came out wonderful. So, I saw Silly Things of Life, who was watching all the way over on the other side of the world, suggested the Big Bang or one of the zodiac symbols. The Big Bang I feel like would be tricky to illustrate, because just thinking about that much superheated matter exploding all at once, I don't know if I'd be able to draw it in a way that wasn't just like just an explosion. Let me see. Zodiac symbols. Maybe I'll do that, yeah. I kind of like that. How about my zodiac sign? Can anybody guess my sign in chat? Archie, yeah, the Big Bang was a clump of gas. Let me see if I can pull up a reference image here without y'all seeing it. If you can guess my sign. Joy Bush on Facebook says, I always love watching these and I'm amazed by your work with pancakes. I appreciate that, Joy. Thank you so much. Andy Van L on Facebook says, love your work. Stephanie Annette, Gemini. It's not Gemini. Adam Michael on YouTube says Libra. It's not Libra. Y'all going for those air signs, which I'll give you a hint. It is an air sign. I am an air sign. And we've said 2 of the air signs, so there we go. It is Aquarius. Correct, Sky Kid. Sky Kid got it first. I always chuckle at astrology stuff because, like, I say it a lot that I'm a skeptical person. Like, I'm interested in all these sort of, like, I really like modern magic and weird occult books on subjective experiences of the divine and things like sacred geometry and all that stuff. And so I see astrology, and I've always had a skeptical eye for astrology, but the artist in me cannot get over it, how cool I think it is as a concept. And every time I read one of those astrological, like, personality memes, like Aquarius memes, I can't help but vibe with them. Like, because the psychological profile of Aquarius is always that they're, like, detached, they like, laugh at things they shouldn't laugh at because they don't take them seriously enough, and they're constantly thinking about, like, cultural revolution, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I vibe with that. Joy Bush says, I'm a Cancer and everything I read about my personality is head on, right? It's very, and the thing is I know as I read those things that we all experience confirmation bias, right? So most of the traits that are explored by astrological signs are, like, I mean, there's positive and negatives to all of them, but it almost feels like as an art form, it thrives on the fact that it flatters whoever is reading it. So if you know you are a certain sign and they start telling you certain things about your personality, like, oh, you're like Capricorn is supposed to be really, really ambitious, career-driven, money-driven, and, like, if I were a Capricorn, yeah, I would, like, I am also an ambitious person. Like, I have multiple businesses. I'm trying to build this pancake art empire and a board game empire and all these things. I know that if, like, I would probably vibe with whatever sign I landed on, but it still gives me the creeps how accurately they seem to describe, you know? It's like, I understand that my brain is playing tricks on me, but at the same time, is it really? Sky Kid says, yeah, most of my mates have those signs. They're really creative, cool buds to have. Kaya Nakori Tete, it's good to see you again. Hey, I just got done with school. Thanks for joining us. I'm just going off about astrology over here, and I'm about to draw an astrological sign pancake. I'm gonna do an Aquarius because that's my sign. Just kind of riffing over here using a light reference. Let's see here. Aquarius is the water bearer. We're in the age of Aquarius, aren't we? Or we're leaving the age of Pisces and entering the age of Aquarius? Precession of the equinoxes is really fascinating to me, as is all of the, like astrology has been a part of the human condition, the human experience for a long time. You find all kinds of astrological stuff in ruins, like you see astrological principles expressed in the construction of, like, Neolithic temples and stuff like that. The ruins at Göbekli Tepe are covered in mythological astrology type signs, and it's interesting how it becomes like something that belongs to everyone. Like, as far as I know, nobody really has a, you know, like, you can't really get called out for appropriation for doing astrology because it doesn't belong to anyone, really, right? Like, it's kind of melded into the collective global unconscious, and I think that's really neat. That's also part of the reason I'm drawn to Metatron's cube, because it's totally royalty free. You can use those principles in all of your art and design, and I've found they can be very inspiring. But you'll never have to worry about like paying royalties to somebody who owns them, because nobody owns them, because they're mathematical principles, and they're beautiful. And I think that's really neat. It's very convenient. It's like, thanks, universe. I'm going to use the heck out of those. Same with like a deck of cards. I think that is a really cool thing. I designed a board game around the mechanics of a deck of cards, and it's nice to have something so long-lasting, so powerfully what's the word I'm looking for? Enduring, that you can just use for designing stuff. Adam Michael says, I'm a skeptic as well, but as humans we can have this magical experience. It's very cool. I agree. You can sort of choose to have it, right? Like, you can choose to interpret things that people might tell you to interpret in a mundane way. You can say, well, screw it. I'm going to say that this is a freaking magical enchantment. You know? Silly Things of Life says, we have a different zodiac sign system in Sanskrit, so I have 2 signs. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that there's other systems with other signs. But I don't know very much about them. I know that the sort of the Western astrology system is the one that gets talked about the most in meme culture and stuff on Instagram. Maja M says, hello, can you do Pisces too? If I have the batter for it, I will try to. I was telling folks that I might only have enough batter to do this pancake. I mean, like, I have a lot of different colors here, but the main fill that I use I'm very, very low on, and it becomes a little trickier to do that. Adam Michael says, I was immediately impressed by your logo and brand here. Very cool. Thank you, Adam. I appreciate you saying that. Maja M, can I ask you something? Were you asking about Pisces? Adam Michael says, I think a lot about how it was to be a human in those times. Our eyes saw the stars and our brains used all this information. Right. That's actually a really great point. There's an experience I had that I really like to talk about when that kind of a, you know, what was it like back then? Because I went cold weather camping. I mean, it wasn't like snowing outside, but it was in. I went to Chaco Canyon, New Mexico, with a friend of mine to see it's beautiful ruins, Native American. It's a national park. I've been there a couple times, but the second time I went there, it was closed because the government was closed because America doesn't know what the heck it's doing. But I remember I went there with my friend Kevin, and that night was a very interesting experience for me because I remember it was so cold that you had to stand by the fire. You had to stand by the fire. If you weren't standing by the fire, you would be very upset very quickly. And I remember thinking that, it occurred to me that if you're standing around a fire with your buddies because you literally have nowhere else to be, because everything around you is freezing cold and the only comfortable place is right by the fire. Once you figure out fire and you and your friends are hanging out, standing around fire to survive, it's a matter of time before you start looking up at the sky while you're standing with these folks and coming up with stories about the stars. It's just a matter of time before because you're just there, you're bored, you know? You don't have a phone, you don't have TV, you don't have books, you just got some fire and the night, and everything outside of, like, the fire lights things up, and you can't see anything outside of it, so you get, there's monsters out there probably, man. There's nocturnal beasts that'll eat you alive. And so you just be sitting there and come up with all these stories about what the stars were. Like, what the heck are those things up there twinkling? But what is the firmament? What are we? And that's, you know, like, it's also, it goes kind of hand in hand with language. Like, if you don't have language, you sit around a fire long enough, you start pointing at shit, making sounds, because you're bored. And it just felt very, in that moment, I felt very connected to the human history, if that makes sense. I felt very connected to my heritage as a human being, you know, not as an American or descendant of the English or anything, but my heritage as a human on this earth. It felt very affirming. Silly Things Life says that humans are worshiping 9 planets before we even have telescopes. It's very fascinating, right? Because you can see them and wonder about them. The universe owns them but doesn't mind being promoted, says Sky Kid. I guess that's in response to my royalty-free thing. Natalie Karakari, that fly needs to get gone. Yes, it does. Hank's my business partner, and he does a lot of like home improvement stuff around. Like he built the freaking studio that I'm in right now, essentially with his bare hands. Nailed it all together. Extremely awesome guy to have around. He was doing something in the workshop the other day, and it was a really beautiful day, so he left the doors open. And so we have like 6 flies in the studio. And it's very frustrating because we film, you know, content. But he told me he was going to go get some fly paper today, so yes, the fly does need to get gone. I notice it as well. Archie, are those the actual constellations or just rando star formations? Yeah, it's just random star formations. I'm just doing art. Maja M on YouTube says, do you DM people on Instagram? From time to time. If you, well, that's the thing. If you DM Pancakes, one of us will respond to you probably. If you DM my personal Instagram, I personally am much more likely to see it. I'm Daniel James Drake on Instagram. So if you want to look that up and shoot me an Instagram message, I'll probably see it. Montse Mendoza says, oh, you're replying. Okay. Adam Topkoff on Facebook. Hey, Dan, know any good pancake jokes? I know, like, we have, like, dumb bits, you know, beats that we hit when we do live events and stuff, but I don't know if I'd call them pancake jokes necessarily. I don't have any, like, what do you get when you mix a blop blop with a boop bop? None of that. What's the deal with pancake artists? But if you know any, please feel free to inform me in the chat. Silly Things of Life on YouTube says, there is a temple in India made in 1,000 years before. There are carvings of human fetus in every gestational age. It blows my mind. Yeah, I think there's a lot of... So I follow a lot of people on Twitter, and there are 2 personalities that just came to my mind. One of them is he's a guy named Graham Hancock. He wrote this book a while back called Fingerprints of the Gods, and it is about how he has this theory that there was an advanced human civilization, or he does a good job of not outright saying that he has this theory and more just entertaining the idea that, you know, human civilization is much, much older than our current anthropological estimates give. Like, I also follow a couple of archaeologists. There's a professor named Sarah Parchak that I follow on Twitter in particular, who is constantly tweeting about how annoyed she gets by people like Graham Hancock going around and convincing lay people such as myself that the universe is, or that human civilization is much, much older than archaeologists say. 'Cause she's like, dude, we study this. Could you stop making people think that it was aliens or whatever? I think it's healthy to keep both of those things in mind, because ultimately I don't know what's really going on, and I can't really say that Graham Hancock or Sarah Parchak has all the answers, but I do find myself deeply enamored with the idea that Basically with the idea that there's a lost civilization buried under the sea ice of Antarctica. I love that idea. I love it. I love it. Even it doesn't. I don't even really care if it's true or if it has any like sense to it or whatever. Like, it's more that I just love the idea that there's things on Earth that we currently lack the tools and technology to know. Like, there's things on our planet that we still don't know. Things that, you know, we think of ourselves as very high and mighty and having many, many answers to many, many things. But, like, we still, you know, I read a study just earlier today about how we're just now getting to a scientific consensus that ravens and crows have a form of like an inner world. Like they think about the past and the future in limited ways. And that stuff blows my mind. Sky Kid says, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm kind of behind on the comments. I'm trying to respond to all of them before they bump off my screen, but I keep getting lost in the sauce, as it were. Sky Kid, back then, before Nintendo Switch. That's right, Sky Kid, before Nintendo Switch. Adam Michael, that's a cool story. The fire drew us together first. That makes absolute sense. It's nice to celebrate being a human animal. What a neat experience. Yeah. Thanks for humoring me and letting me share that with y'all. Natalie Carrie. Natalie Carrie. Thank you for specifying. Thank you for specifying how to pronounce that, Natalie. I appreciate you. Maja M. Oh, say your Instagram username again. It's Daniel James Drake. DanielJamesDrake. That's my full name. I'm a fool. I got in a Twitter argument with somebody once and they responded, all right, 3 names. That was funny. Let's see. Adam, you know a pasta joke? Did you hear about the Italian guy that died yesterday? He pasta away. You just look at me, I just have like 7 more gray beard hairs. Let's see. There we go. That'll be nice. Archie says, as long as those theories don't involve aliens came down and gave us tech, humans were smart. Yeah, I think the aliens one is, and I guess I understand why people like that too, because it's kind of the same thing. Like, if you think about deep time and like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years ago and millions of years ago, and you know, like I've heard people's idea that like Mars used to be more habitable, and then some kind of cataclysm happened, and it goes kind of hand in hand with the Atlantis theory, right? Like people have these ideas. There's a lot of like scientism and occultism and various sort of pseudoscientific ideas that just seem to get along quite well, and people have mashed them all together to think that, like, you know, aliens came from another planet a long time ago, and we are their descendants, or they gave us their tech and left, or any number of different like off-the-wall thing. And there's no way to prove it. There's no way to. All you can do with that stuff is just say, it's kind of like, it would be like me presenting the theory that like, oh, when you dream, you're going to another plane of reality. Your consciousness goes somewhere else, and it's like Occam's razor, which is the what's the word? It's a rhetorical device. It basically is like, if there's a simpler explanation and you don't have the evidence to prove either one of them necessarily, generally it makes sense to default to the simpler explanation. And I think the simpler explanation is just that actually human beings are capable of a lot of cool things, you know? Get out of here, flies. Gosh, I really wish Hank would. There's 4 in here right now. This is gonna drive me up a freaking wall. Sorry, flies. I love you, but y'all gotta leave me alone. Took a smack. I don't know if I got him. Did not get the flies. Tried to get the flies. Failed to get the flies. Okay. Silly Things Life on YouTube says Cthulhu of Lovecraft would be a great idea if you feel like it or if you have batter for it. Maja M wants me to do Pisces after. You want me to do Pisces after Aquarius? Kinda. I would. On the fence. Let me see here. Sky Kid, no worries about keeping up, directing attention to your design. You're doing well. Appreciate you saying that. Adam Topkoff, tell Hank to hear up. To hurry up. That's what you're. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna flip this one. 3, 2, 1. Oh, lovely. I like that. I like that a lot. It's a simple little design. Adam Michael, you gotta make a phone call. That's perfectly cool. This stream probably won't be going on too much longer, but just so you know, we Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 2 p.m. Central Daylight Time is when we do Joy of Pancakes. So yeah, please check us out another time and come hang out, make requests, all that kind of stuff. We love having folks around to check it out. Adam Topkoff. Oh, yeah, okay, cool. Katie Forbes, Tia would love you to make a Vulpix. Okay. Oh, shoot. I need to turn my griddle back down. Thanks, Adam. I appreciate it. I hope you have a good call and a good day. And we'll see you around. Let me see. Sky Kid just got a pet toad. Just get a pet toad to deal with the flies. Yes, that's great. Can we hire you as a pet toad, Sky Kid? You just bring a sword. Ah! Okay. So, well done, 3 names. Thank you, Natalie. I appreciate that. Maja M wanted Pisces. Tia wants Vulpix. And why do I feel like there's another one that I'm forgetting? It's been a very strange day. Still getting over my caffeine addiction. I let my griddle get a little bit hot there, so I need to let it turn down for a moment. But here we go. I'm gonna do a Vulpix for Tia, who's a young fan of ours. I always like to lean into helping the children feel seen. But then, if you'll stick around, Maya, I will do Pisces after that. Oh my gosh, there are so many flies. I'm going to implode. What was yours, Silly Things of Life? Ah, goodness, it was Cthulhu. Cthulhu from Lovecraft, that's right. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do 3 pancakes on the griddle at one time. Just for fun. Because since I'm low on batter, I can't really get into anything too crazy and ambitious. I'm just going to knock out some fun little designs here, and then I'm going to call it a day. Because the flies are driving me insane. I'm going to set myself on fire. This one's for Tia. Shout out to Tia. Thanks for watching again, y'all. We don't normally make a quote-unquote request live stream out of Joy of Pancakes, but I think it's okay to fudge the rules a little bit right now for this last little set. So I'm going to go home and sleep like a rock. It's going to be kind of a short-legged Vulpix because I'm trying to make it small. Very cute. Little baby Vulpix. Excuse me. Katie Sullivan on YouTube says, when you said caffeine, I heard Kathleen, my full name, and got more confused than I should have for a second. I'm having Kathleen withdrawals. Is that how you heard it? Yeah, that is confusing. So, I mean... Maybe you're just that fantastic of a person to be around, right? You're just addictive. Sorry, guys. I'm having Kathleen withdrawals. It's just funny. Just be happy they're flies and not bees. Does anybody here watch Worthy Kids? An animator. They do Big Top Burger. Huge fan of Worthy Kids. Their last animation was a parody of King's Quest. And there's a line from it that my wife and I recite back and forth to each other now. Oh no, my pet bees! I wouldn't be that worried if I had some bees around. I would hire bees and give them little bee coins to keep me safe from the this scourge of flies, the fly scourge. You know, the fly scourge? You know, the fly scourge. Shaheda, I see your comments, but now you've just bumped off all the other comments of everybody else on my screen, so that kind of sucks. I do appreciate you watching. Just kind of throws off my vibe a little bit, is all. When I look up and I got 14 comments from one person just trying to get my attention. I will get to everybody's comments eventually, but it becomes harder to do when people spam stuff. So, just for future reference, if you want to be on my good side, don't do that. I do. I've yet to actually designate any moderators. Because up to this point, the stream's been fairly small enough. We haven't had a lot of moments like that. But I guess if we continue to grow this at a certain point, that's just part of the deal, right? Okay. All right, so I'm going to do Pisces. While that cooks, I'm going to look up a Pisces. Let me scroll. That's the two fish. Yeah. scroll back past these comments real quick. Silly things of life. I just saw your comment about have some ginger hot water. It'll be a lot better. It tastes like tea. I hope you feel good tomorrow. I appreciate that. I think I will. Somebody asked. Oh, okay. Adam Topkoff is asking what a zodiac sign is. Katie Forbes replied, zodiac is the 12 astrological signs, each named for a constellation. Roughly each month is a different zodiac sign. It's about the 20th of each month where they change over. Adam, I have to read more about that. Thank you, Katie Forbes. So you know why it doesn't stay the same, Katie? Adam, when you ask that, what do you mean why it doesn't stay the same? Why people have different zodiac signs? Is that what you're asking? Because from what I understand, it's about... gosh, lines. I'm just going to implode. It's about... I am not an astrologer, so I don't... There's advanced extra levels to some of the astrological stuff out there, like rising sign and sun sign and moon sign and all these things. But the one that people most associate with their personality, I'm a Virgo, I'm a Pisces, is the one that was like the one you were born under, your sun sign, or the one that was like on the day you were born or the time you were born. There's that Vulpix. Flip this over. Trying to do 800 things at once. Ha-cha-cha. So if you know the date and time that you were born, you can actually, there's a lot of like online calculators that'll tell you all the different intricacies of your sign. It's pretty interesting actually, because the stars don't really change that much from one another, but they do change relative to the position of the Earth as it orbits around the sun and as it rotates. And there's astrology keeps track of a bunch of different heavenly bodies and uses those to make inferences about human personality. And it's really interesting like that. What questions we got? Silly Things of Life asks, what does that tattoo on your left arm mean? Can you tell if it's not personal? You mean this one here? The one on the inside of my left arm? It's the kanji, the Japanese symbol for strength or power, which is a very cliche white American doesn't know what he's talking about tattoo. However, it is a memorial tattoo. When was this? When I was about 20 years old, my stepbrother, he was 16, and he was shot and killed. And he was not yet old enough to get his own tattoo. And he wanted to he was super into Japanese culture, and he was a weeb, very much a weeb. And he wanted very badly to go to Japan, and he wanted to get this as his first tattoo, and never got the chance. And so when I went to get my first tattoo, I didn't know what to get, and I decided that I would get that in his honor. So this is a memorial tattoo to my brother Adam. Get out of here, flies. I'm having a moment. All right, I'm going to do this Pisces. Here we go. This is an interesting reference. I'm going to simplify it a little bit. I like these inverted designs, like the star signs on a background. See if There we go. Little fins. Yeah, I got some folks expressing their condolences for my loss. It's I came to a point a couple years ago where I realized that there are positives to losing somebody, the way that I lost my brother, the way that, you know, I mean, everybody loses people in their life, and a lot of times it's sudden, you know, unexpected because of an accident or health issues or violence or any one of those things, and you end up getting left sort of wondering like what the point of it all is. Like, what's the reason? How come that happened? Was there, what could I have done to stop it? This, that, and the other thing. And I found in the years that have followed that the most meaningful way, the way that I could make it make sense, if that makes sense, the way that I could make the sudden loss of my brother, like, meaningful, is to recognize the, like, this might sound weird, but to recognize the positives of having lost him, which is, there's actually a lot. There's a lot of positives that come from losing somebody, and it's not very apparent after it happens, but I think one of the most profound positive things that has come from my brother's death is that I feel like I understand the pain that other people have gone through a little bit more than I would have if I was just continuing to live my life without having experienced any major loss. Like, there is a connectivity to people when people have gone through grief. There's like an unspoken understanding that people understand each other. Like, I know what it's like to suddenly lose somebody for no good reason, to have somebody that you love killed just randomly and not have any kind of closure, really. There wasn't any. It was a very bad thing, and I don't want to trigger anybody out there who's gone through other things. I don't want to give anybody a bad feeling, so I don't want to talk at length about it. I don't have any problem really talking about it, but I feel like if I talk about the specifics of what happened, it might hurt some people. So, but that being said, I have just found that there's a kind of wisdom that comes from it that can't come from anywhere else. And it's not like given the choice, I would sign up for that wisdom, right? Like, I wouldn't just be like, yeah, kill more of the people that I love, universe. That'd be awesome. No. But it's more like, that happened, I can't change that it happened, so what now? Right? Like, what am I going to do about the fact that somebody I love is gone forever, and I will never have any kind of closure for it? And I think that just as a healthy, I think the healthiest way to look at it is just to be like, okay, well, how am I blessed for this? How is this something that adds depth and meaning to my life? And that's where I found it. I found it in being able to relate to other people who have gone through loss, and being able to, like, if you have yourself experienced grief, you're actually much better able to be there for somebody who is going through it. You're much better able to be like a listener, you know? You're not going to fall into the trap of trying to tell somebody how they're supposed to grieve, because you understand how nobody gets that right. Nobody gets to do that. And people who try to they just don't understand. They clearly haven't experienced it the way I experienced it. And so there is this profound healing value to that, being able to, because of the experiences I've gone through, being able to be that for other people. That's good stuff. Shaheda, are you trying to get my attention for something specific? Because I haven't seen any other comments. And I don't know if they got bumped off the screen or if you're just trying to say hello or what. But Manja M says, when I was a child, one of my uncles passed away. He was like a dad to me in a specific way. Bought me a Barbie doll house at one point. I loved him a lot. Yeah, that stuff can be very, it leaves a mark on you. A bud of mine will tell me, the ones who love us never really leave us. You can always find them in here. Whenever I lose someone I cared, loved very dearly, after years pass, it makes sense. Yeah. Yep. They are always there. It's not a very satisfying thing to hear when you're grieving, right? Because it's not the same. It's not the same as having a person there in front of you. It, you know, surprising you with the way their brain is continuing to process the world around them and that sort of thing. But it is very comforting to know that that they left an impact on the world and that it continues to resound, you know? It continues to manifest in changes in the way you conduct your affairs and in the way your life unfolds, and the lessons that you learn from people and the experiences you had with people don't really go away. You always get to have those in your inner world, and nobody can really take those from you. Haley Ballard Haley Ballard on Facebook asks, what got you started in pancake art? Well, before I answer that, Adam Topkoff says, hey Dan, gotta go, but have a nice rest of your day, enjoy your sleep, and see you next time. Will do, Adam. I appreciate you dropping in. I hope that you have a good day. And thanks for the comments and the support and all that stuff. So be safe, and we'll see you next time. Where was it? Haley Ballard, what got me started in pancakes? I got started as a fry cook at a diner in South St. Louis, just trying to make better tips. And the very first time I ever served a piece of pancake art, a gentleman told me he'd never seen anything like it, and he gave me $15. And I thought, whoa. And it was just a smiley face. It wasn't anything particularly ridiculous. I was still just kind of figuring things out. But he responded really well to it, and I thought, well, if that's what that did, I should keep doing it. And so for about 5 years, I kept doing smiley face pancakes for folks. And over the years, I got bored with just doing smiley faces, and I started to dabble in other ways to do it and that sort of thing. But eventually, a photo of me went viral making a Mario mushroom pancake. You can still see that if you Google Dr. Dan the Pancake Man. It's still one of the first things that shows up usually. But yeah, after that, folks started to call and ask if I did birthday parties. After I was on, did I say the Today Show part? Yeah. Thing went viral. I ended up on the Today Show. I got to be on national TV, and folks started to call and ask if I did birthday parties. And after that is when it started to take off as a business, and now it's been my full-time job for about 6 years. The pandemic put a big ol' damper on it because of we were an events company, you know, no more birthday parties for the time being. But we've been finding ways we invested in a lot of live stream equipment and like studio lighting and all that stuff. And so we've been very fortunate to still have things we can do for money, even though events have stopped. Oh gosh, this is clogged. My best. Super sad stream. The Melancholy of Pancakes. That's right. That's, hey man, you can't have joy without suffering. Read a book. Let's see. Maja M says, I can kind of relate with you with the bond with your brother when you were talking about him, although my uncle passed away due to medical stuff, I think. Well, yeah, and I think that's kind of my point, you know, is that, like, there's a lot of people out there. I think when it happened to me, where my brain went with it is that, like, as an American, I hear a lot about, like, disasters and terrorism and stuff happening in other countries, and, like, I kind of feel like maybe our government wouldn't be so up its own ass if more people in government knew what it actually meant to suffer. You know, I feel like we have a lot of very entitled people running things around here, and it's very easy for them to write off the suffering that their policies cause because it's not real to them. And honestly, it would have been, I think it's easier to write things like that off when you haven't had something awful like that happen to you. Something that you can't explain through one thing or another. Or maybe I'm cutting people. Maybe people do. Sometimes I know people will go the other way with it, right? Where they will try to, so they will have something bad happen to them, but they'll try to explain it in a way that they can. They blame an entire group of other people, whether it's a race or a religion or a class or a particular ideology, a political persuasion, whatever, as a way to understand why what happened to them happened and use that to justify policies that hurt people. So maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree with that, but at any rate. Katie Forbes says, Tia is watching in complete awe. I'm very glad to hear that. I think this is going to be a good one. I think I had a pretty cool reference for it, so this Pisces will be pretty neat. Tanya Moore on YouTube says, thank you. Your words have really helped me today more than you could know. Well, thank you for saying that. That touched me. I appreciate you sharing that with me. Purple Anubis asks, where did the doctor part come from? Dr. Dan Cake is our handle on all of our social media. And occasionally people will still refer to me as this, Dr. Dan the Pancake Man. And yeah, like I said, if you Google Dr. Dan the Pancake Man, that's actually a really funny story. There was a girl, we actually dated briefly in high school. Her name's Haley. She lives in Alaska right now, and we're still on good terms. But she was like surrealist weird. You know, like that like Hot Topic teenager surrealist weird sense of humor a lot of people in high school had. And, you know, would just like would take a bite out of chapstick just to freak somebody out or something. And Haley, at one point, I want to say it was junior year of high school, I was sitting at a lunch table, minding my own business, and I heard her say, we need a doctor. Just like yelling out, just hamming it up, you know, goofing off like you do at the cafeteria during lunch hour. And for whatever reason, at that moment, I just had an impulse. And I didn't even think about it. I just turned around really dramatically, and I just stuck my finger out and pointed at her, and I said, you rang? And so from then on, she decided that I would be Dr. Dan. And so she just called me Dr. Dan every time she saw me from then on, and I was super annoyed by it. Well, I got annoyed by it after a while. At first, I thought it was kind of funny, and then I got really annoyed by it. So then, fast forward a couple years, graduate from high school. I'm not doing anything with my life for real, and I end up getting hired at a diner, and I'm working my diner day job. About 3 months after I was working there, Haley ends up getting hired there too. And she calls me Dr. Dan in front of my boss, Will, one time. And Will goes, I kind of like that. Dr. Dan. A couple months later, he was just yelling, God damn it, Dr. Dan! You know, just like, that's just, everybody at the diner started to call me Dr. Dan at that point. And so it became Dr. Dan. So when I started to do the pancake art, people would call me the Pancake Man. And then it was just kind of just, it was like magnetic, like Dr. Dan, the Pancake Man. Put them together, Dr. Dan the Pancake Man. And so then when I actually launched Dan Cakes as a company, when I actually started to take it seriously as a life direction and started to get all the social media handles, Dan Cakes was taken on most platforms. and Dan Cake didn't quite feel right for whatever reason. So, because it felt like I don't want people to call me Dan Cake. That seems silly. Don't call me Dan Cake. So I signed up for the handle Dr. Dan Cake, and so it goes. And now you know. Now you know why we're Dr. Dan. Masha M says, us in Europe hear about disasters in the U.S. Well, yeah, I mean, right now. You know, I'm talking about when I was a kid. Like, when I was a kid and the empire was still more or less intact, you know, and we're just like, oh, nice mountain of privilege we sit on as Americans. Good thing that we don't know this. Evan says, guys, why is this YouTube channel underrated? I think so too. The algorithm changed on us really unfairly at some point, and so now we've got videos with over 1 million views from years ago, and now whenever we put out a video, it gets like 200. So I don't know what's going on, but we mostly focus on the folks that care about us enough to like look us up and stuff. Elena Guberti says hi. Hi, Elena. Thanks for saying something. Thanks for dropping in. Classic class clown move. I'm glad I could provide you with the Dr. Dan lore backstory. Fun fact: I am quite literally about 50 pages into a book. I'm writing a book about the Dan Cakes backstory. Let me go ahead and flip this real quick. Hold on. Scene transition. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Pisces. Pisces and Aquarius. Pretty good stuff. I appreciate that, Kevin. Thank you so much. I think we'll get to that point. Sky Kid. Yeah. I mean, it's my stage name now. Got your 3 names again. Always 3 names. Night Frost. Hey, Night Frost. Thought you'd pop in to say hi, but can't stay for long. That's all right. I'm glad you said so. I'm glad you said something. And happy to see you. Thank you, Sky Kid. Purple Anubis says, is the book going to be called The Joy of Pancakes? I want to call it Mistakes Are Delicious, honestly. Because a lot of it's going to be about, it's going to be about the Pancake story, but a lot of it's also going to be about, like, what happened in my life between the time that I started making pancake art and pancake art took off. Because there's a whole, it's like a freaking saga of my life. There's a whole chapter of where I was making, I was performing in multiple musical projects and late night shows around St. Louis, and did comic books and all kinds of, there's all kinds of craziness that happened that really led to, well, and I want to talk at length about my brother dying and how that changed the way I think and the way that I think about life and how it's influenced my Mistakes Are Delicious philosophy. You know, just this idea that there's a lot of shame inhibiting, I feel like just about everybody, right? Like, I feel like shame is just like an integral part of our culture, and it's gonna take a lot of concerted effort if we ever want to create a culture that is not based on shame. And Mistakes Are Delicious is about that. It's about how, you know, like there's something heartbreaking about when you go to like teach a group of, you know, middle schoolers how to do pancake art. We've been hired for school classes like that before, and you get a freaking 14-year-old girl comes up and you got all the batters mixed and you show them how it works and you're like, all right, your turn, and they just freeze because they're so afraid of making a mistake. They're so afraid of making a bad pancake. And it's like, dude, how many bad pancakes do you think I made? But it's not that easy when you are raised in a society that says that if you fail, that's bad. And if you try something and you aren't great at first, it's not for you. You know, you need to go and find something that you're great the second you try it. And there's nothing's like that. Nothing's like that. Everything requires you to messing up is literally how you elbow against the parameters of what success actually looks like, and it's complete mystery until you actually bump into those edges and make mistakes and, you know, spend an hour and a half trying to draw a Jaime Lannister pancake, flip it over and he's cross-eyed. You're like, gah! It's frustrating, but it's also like if you take it as a punch at your essence as a human, your worth, which I think most of us do. Most of us carry that sort of like just a baseline level of shame, and it prevents us from doing all kinds of stuff. I know there's all that, like, I want to get into coding. I want to learn how to make a blockchain. There's all kinds of stuff that I'm really fascinated by and interested in, and I know I have like a brain that could do it. I I know that I would be capable of it. I feel like most people are a lot smarter than we think we are because of this culture of shame. But every time I sit down to try and sit through the tedious process of learning anything like that, I get overwhelmed with this just crushing sense of like, I'm not good at this, and I'll never be good at this, and so I'm wasting my time. I should focus on the things I'm already good at. So, yeah, mistakes are delicious is going to be really the crux of it. I really have a lot of admiration for some of my favorite books out there are nonfiction works. Like, what's that one called? The guy's name's Mark Manson, I think, but he wrote a book called, what is it? It's got an orange cover, and it has the word, the F word bleeped out on the cover. I can't think of the name of it. But yeah, there's a lot of really great creative nonfiction out there nowadays, and I want to write something like that. I feel like that could sort of, like, I would love to get something like that on an audiobook library so that people would check it out. We got some other comments over here. Purple Anubis, I humbly request an audiobook read by the author when it comes out. You're probably going to get it. Katie Forbes on Facebook says, Tia asks me every day if the pancakes are on. We've missed it due to school life, so Friday seems to be the only day we can watch it, but one stream, and she's become a massive fan. Well, that's fantastic to hear. As long as you're still watching, what time would if we moved the time to like slightly later or slightly earlier, would that make it easier for Tia to watch? Because I've been doing it at 2 p.m. just for simplicity's sake, but I've also been trying to think about like doing this later, doing it even just 1 or 2 hours later. I'm trying to find a time slot that gets me the most viewers, obviously, and works the most for the people that are already watching it. Like I know that we have fans in like there's people in the chat right now who are watching from like India and Indonesia, and I don't want to push it too much further. I mean, it might be the sort of thing that maybe I could do an earlier stream and a later stream. I don't know. I want to be everything to everyone all the time. But mostly, I want to provide something wonderful for the folks that are hanging out in the chat right now. Subtle art are not giving a counterintuitive approach to living a good life. Yes, Adam, Michael, Sky Kid, y'all are correct. That's the one. Yeah, silly things of life. That's I was thinking about that because I know it's already very late for you. So. I mean, it really seems to me like it might end up being the sort of thing where on certain days I do it later and on certain days I do it earlier than we currently do it, just because I think 2 p.m. might be a bit of an awkward time slot anyway, even locally, even here in my time zone. But I am really hoping to just adjust it so that the people who love it can enjoy it more, because I'm really enjoying doing it. Archie on YouTube says, I'm fine with not catching up with the stream on time. I'll see the playback later, but I'll probably be around to be here on the weekends. On the weekends, we do the Sunday stream, which is the request live stream. Noodle Princess, good to see you. Super late to stream today, just popping in to say hi. I'm getting ready to wrap up. In fact, speaking of which, I will grab the pancakes that I made. It was a bit of a weird day. Didn't do any of the classic Joy of Pancakes styled ones today, but I'm reusing batter from the other day, and I'm feeling a little off, so I just kind of winged it. But I'll move this out of the way real quick. Adam, you're in Central. Awesome. Cool. That's my time zone. Earlier, I think, might work. 2 p.m. is about 8 p.m. for us, but I have to get her brothers to bed before we can actually watch a stream, so 8 actually works time-wise. Okay. Well, that makes sense. So here are the pancakes and all of the flies. There's so many flies. I'm going to prosecute Hank to the fullest extent of the flies. So we made a Vulpix for Tia. We made an Aquarius and a Pisces zodiac signs. And I started the stream with a pancake art lesson of how to draw Metatron's cube. So hopefully y'all will get a kick out of that. Let me see. Silly Things of Life says, it's the only human interaction I had today, so if you change the time, it'll be very sad for me. I would not want to do that. I really appreciate your presence in the streams. So do you think that maybe for you, Silly Things of Life, a little bit earlier would be nice for you? Because it could be the sort of thing where I could just start it earlier and go for longer. I mean, there's a lot of different ways I could go about this. Long term, I'm trying to build this stream into like a legitimate source of like, because it's currently not really, it's not directly making us money. I think there's some people that have sent us some commission requests, and I think it gets our name out there a little bit more and all that stuff, which is cool. But I would really like, if I could find a way to make this one-to-one, this hangout session we're doing right now, if I could find a way to make this pay my bills, this is like all I would ever want to do. Like, because I love this. I love this. It's given me an opportunity to continue to interact with people and connect with people and share myself, which is like I'm that guy. I want to get on a stage and sing and dance and zoop and zop. So maybe we'll do a poll through our Facebook or something. In fact, actually, now that y'all are leaving all these wonderful comments, give me 1 second, because I'm gonna grab a piece of paper, and I'll see if I can do some math on this to figure out if I can find an ideal time slot. Because I know we could find one that's perfect. I feel like this isn't perfect now. I feel like it's better than it is, and I just want to kind of crowdsource from the folks that are watching right now, you know. And Purple Anubis, yeah. As far as the donate link, we're really a bunch of scatterbrained artists, and we're really bad at like focusing on like non-art related projects. But we're gonna get to a point where we can do our patron system, so that we can actually have folks that are dedicated to us and want us to continue to do this support. I think probably the best thing long term. But let's see. I'm just writing some of y'all's screen names down and what time it is where you are. Approximately. I would love for y'all to give me more money. Poland. Okay. Zoop and zop. Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate that. Scroll back up a little bit. So Katie is in Eastern Standard Time. Katie Forbes, where are you again? You said it's 2 p.m. is 8 p.m. for you. So 8, but 8 works for you. Right on. Well, okay, let me scroll back down to the bottom, see what other comments we got. It's 9:50 right now. That's right, you're in the UK. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know where else you'd be, just in the ocean. Cool. So, yeah, I got a little bit of information here. I'll see. For now, we're just going to keep doing it at 2 p.m. So next Monday is what we're going to be doing another Joy of Pancakes stream at 2 p.m. Central Daylight Time, my time. So 2 p.m., which is when we started this stream. So whatever time it is right now for y'all, about 2 hours before this is when we're going to be doing it on Monday. So if you want to come and hang out with us then, and make some requests and see some prompts and hang out and talk about pancake art and philosophy and all kinds of other nonsense, I would love to have y'all there. I am going to go ahead and cut the stream here now in just a hot second. I'm also looking into getting like fancy overlays and stuff like that, so like the stream itself will be a little bit cooler looking. But you know, I'm really kind of like spinning a bunch of plates in my life, so if it ends up just looking like this for a little bit longer, is what it is. It seems to be working. Y'all seem to be having a good time. I'm having a good time. So I love all of you very much. I hope that you can feel that. And I will see you on the flip side. Get it? It's a pun. Get out of here, flies. Remember, mistakes are delicious. And I'll see you around. I love you guys. Bye.